After 2 years in Pafuri, Jürgen had captured the unique beauty and stark reality of this region. The resulting film helped to save the area from being exploited for coal mining. With his first film in the can, it was time to move on, further south, to a different part of Kruger. In 1988, Jürgen and his family moved to Skukuza, where the children started school. His favorite spot in this area was Chokwane, an area of open plains and woodland savanna, lion country. And this was where he met his favorite lion, Hanglip.
This was Hanglip's hunting ground. Here I joined him and his pride in the never-ending search for prey.
Jürgen started to film these lions at the time when Hanglip and his brother first took over the Shilaweni pride. Hanglip was the stronger of the two males, but together they formed a formidable partnership that kept rivals at bay.
In the time I spent with him, Hanglip fathered many cubs.
Despite the years of drought, Hanglip's cubs continued to flourish, growing healthy and strong. Lions can subsist for long periods of time without drinking by using the moisture present in their prey. And prey was plentiful.
This is where I had my camp. There are no lions here today. But back then, I would sometimes come home and find lions lying in the shade of my tent. Then I would wait until they moved away. They had accepted me in their territory, so I accepted them too. I was truly living with lions. I had Hanglip and his family's whole history in my camera. The more time I spent with them, the more they accepted me. I was just like one of the pride.
A unique opportunity presented itself when Hanglip mated with one of his females. Over the next 106 days, Jürgen followed her pregnancy.
One day, she did not join the rest of the pride when they left to go hunting. I knew her time was near.
Later that day, she moved into a dense patch of reeds. It was exciting for Jürgen, but at the same time frustrating. He could not see the birth. All he could do was record the sounds. Jürgen desperately wanted to see the cubs, but he knew that if he got too close, the mother would kill him. Jürgen waited at the den for 4 long days. Eventually, hunger forced the lioness to leave her cubs unattended, and Jürgen saw his chance.
I crawled into the den with my camera, and I said to myself, Jürgen, if she comes back now, you're dead. But I had to go in. I felt like they were a part of my own family.
The cubs were very small, only weighing about 2 kilograms each, but their eyes were already open, and they knew that Jürgen was not their mother.
They started hissing at me. I knew if their mother heard them, I would be in big trouble. I had to get out of there fast. I got out just in time before she arrived back. I'm sure she could smell that I'd been with the cubs, but her first instinct was to check if they were okay.
Whenever something special would happen with Hanglip's Pride, Jürgen would come fetch me and he'd take me there. And when the cubs were out of hiding, I saw them and they were absolutely beautiful.
After about 6 weeks, the lioness joined another female with cubs slightly older than hers. Then, Jürgen could film without any danger of being attacked and spent as much time as possible recording the family's activities. The lionesses were attentive mothers, but they had to eat to survive, and every 2 or 3 days they had to hunt. During their first 2 months, the cubs were too young to follow their mothers, who would have to leave them behind, alone and unguarded, until they found someone they could trust.
They would get ready at night to go hunting, but sometimes the mothers would bring the cubs over and leave them with me.
Jürgen had unwittingly become a nanny. It was a great privilege, but it had its drawbacks.
I was a Helen. I wanted to film the excitement of the hunt, but I felt responsible for the cubs, and so I stayed with them. But the next morning, when the mothers returned, it was like a family reunion.
Whenever Jürgen was not with Hanglip's Pride, he kept an eye out for other filming opportunities. He sometimes followed other lions and the animals that shared their territory. This young bull elephant was determined to let everyone know who was boss around here. He seemed irritated with everyone, even Jürgen.
The elephant came from behind a small tree and mock charged me. He had nothing against me personally. He was just telling me to go away. I realized then that I was parked under his favorite tree.
Incidents like this one, which he filmed in 1991, deepened Jürgen's understanding of the animals and their behavior. They are invaluable lessons which he has never forgotten, and ones that he must use again every time he returns to the bush. Useful skills if he is to come face to face with one of Africa's big five.
I believe animals are just like us, just another tribe. To understand them, we have to learn their language. Over the years alone with them in the bush, they have taught me when I should back off and when I can stay. I'm sorry I disturbed his midday sleep, but I love this, just like the old days.
As Jürgen learned to understand the wild animals of Kruger, he became familiar with the park's annual cycles. His quest to record one of the most interesting stories took him into the Mopani Belt, a vast area of scrubland covered mainly by one kind of tree, the Mopani. This hardy tree adapts easily to the harsh conditions of the area and is central to the lives of many of the inhabitants of Kruger. Lions use these trees for shade, but they're not what draws Jürgen back to this area. Without hesitation, he homes in on exactly what he's looking for, perfectly camouflaged among the leaves, a Mopani moth, an insect whose entire life cycle is centered around this tree.
Can you see how worn her wings are? That means she has finished laying her eggs. She'll die soon. It's not only the big animals that make up the wonders of Kruger. Insects are equally important here. I wanted to record their lives too.
Jürgen's unique footage revealed an amazing life cycle never before seen on film. The adult moth has no feeding organs. Her entire purpose is to mate and then lay about 200 eggs. Her life lasts no longer than 3 days. Tiny caterpillars hatch between 3 and 4 weeks later. They only need to crawl a short distance to find their food source, Mopani leaves. The brightly colored caterpillar is a feeding machine, growing rapidly to a length of up to 13 centimeters. Its skin does not stretch with its expanding body. The caterpillar needs to molt 6 times before it reaches full size. By this stage, the caterpillar becomes one of the richest sources of protein for animals and birds. After 6 weeks of blissful overindulgence, the caterpillar leaves the tree and finds a soft, sandy spot in the soil near the base of the Mopani. It burrows down into the sand, where it hollows out a cell and gradually turns into a pupa. Here it will lie as it goes through its dramatic transformation.
No one could tell me exactly when the moth would come out, so I had to be there every night to make sure I didn't miss it. But I wasn't alone out there.
A kill among the Mopani trees brought on rivalry among the king of beasts. But Jürgen maintained his vigil. After almost 6 months, the newly formed moths emerged, and Jürgen was ready to record the event.
Now that I'd seen the whole cycle, I was amazed at the ability of this one insect to transform itself. It just shows that everything in nature, no matter how small, is determined to beat the odds to survive. I find that fantastic.
The life cycle of the Mopani moth was only one of the incredible events of the Kruger Park. Now, Jürgen knows that he has only scratched the surface. To film and understand the complexity and diversity of this world would take many lifetimes. He was privileged enough to share very special moments with some of Kruger's most formidable inhabitants. Retracing his old paths, he meets an old friend.
This is a real privilege.
Mabarule is one of the grand old men of Kruger. More than 40 years old, He is one of Kruger's 7 big tuskers. Mabarule is here to cool off. In summer, temperatures often reach a baking 40 degrees Celsius.
I'm not used to this heat anymore. I need to cool off as well.
Like all the animals in the bush, Jürgen had to adapt to the extreme heat and had to find some inventive means to cool down. Just like the old days, he returns to one of his favorite swimming pools.
I almost landed in trouble in '92. I was taking a swim when a huge head suddenly appeared over the top of the reservoir. An elephant bull had come to drink and I couldn't get out. I hung onto the pipe in the middle for over an hour and hoped that he wouldn't find out I was there.
During the driest months, the man-made dams of Kruger become the lifeline for many of the animals. Shiloweni is one of the biggest. Fed by the summer rains, it usually retains enough water to last through the dry months. But Jürgen recalls that it was not always so.
This is one of my favorite spots, but in the drought, it was just a little puddle.